I don't know what to talk about. I'm not gonna lie, I got out on the bike thinking that I was gonna talk to myself for, you know, however long, but it's been literally an hour and I haven't talked in an hour. It's been an hour. Yesterday, I kind of did get thinking though, after watching a film. Film was Civil War, and I don't know if you haven't seen it yet, but I'm probably gonna spoil some shit, so if you haven't seen it and you do want to see it, don't listen to this video. I think it is interesting that the past couple months we have had like Civil War type videos, or like America falling. That seems to be like a big trend lately when it comes to filmmaking. So no, I'm not saying that I'm a conspiracy theorist here, but I mean, it is interesting, especially when Obama produced one of them. I don't really know where I was supposed to go with this conversation with myself, but I mean, I really don't think that we're like that far off from another Civil War. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think the Civil War will be anything like the previous one that we've had. And even how people think it's going to go down now, I don't even think it's going to go down like that. You know, in the past we were fighting over rights, but basically slavery. We were fighting over the rights of slaves when it comes to, like at that time, yeah, Southerners may have viewed that as property, but like all the Northerners were like, you know what? Nah, dude, that's a person. You can't own a person. That's fucked up. And in the end, Abe Lincoln was like, you know what? Fuck all ya. We're done with that shit. Nowadays, people think that we're going to have a civil war based on, you know, political beliefs and stuff like that. But I don't think that's how it's going to go. I think it's going to be something that is completely unforeseeable. I think it's going to come down to, like, we may not see it in, you know, in the next couple of decades. This might be more of like a long-term thing, but energy is a commodity that no one can get rid of right now, and the demand for it is only going up. You look at our infrastructure, it's all based on like fossil fueled products, and sure, there's some things that can go green, but you know what? In order to go green, you have to spend money to make money, and you know what that means? We're spending fossil fuels in order to go green. And don't get me wrong, I think going green is great. I love seeing alternate solutions to different problems that we have in America. Not even America, but the world. I think what it really is going to come down to, like, it's not going to be a north or south type of thing. It's definitely not going to be a city versus rural area type of thing. Like, I don't know if it was true or not, but someone was saying on some like little tiny snippet of a podcast that I saw on YouTube that it was like the last election was like 80 something counties that were Democratic, but like over 2,000 were Republican. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, sounds about right, but taking that aside, if it was genuinely Republicans versus Democrats in a civil war, I don't even think that it would be a war. It would just be like cutting off supply. Because a city, you can't survive if you're not exporting anything. You know what I mean though? Like cities, they have to import almost everything. Everything is done outside of the city in the way that the city survives. When you get into like farms or water supply, electrical supply, natural gas supply, oil supply, did I say gas already? Well, not natural gas, but gasoline. Like everything that a city needs, food, it all comes from other areas, whether that's out of country or in the countryside of America. And I think that's just like crazy. But don't get me wrong, right now I'm not a huge city guy. A city definitely has its place, because yes, farmers in rural areas can live off their land. Economically, if the city wasn't there, they probably wouldn't have very many areas to sell their products to. Having these densely populated areas, cities, is huge for the economy. because people spend money in cities. Survival wise, like going back to earlier, because I think it wouldn't even be a war, it would just be cutting off the supply chain. Think about any survival movie ever. Do they ever say that staying in the city is a good idea? The only movie that comes to mind where I know that the person has stayed in the city during a natural disaster or like a zombie apocalypse or civil war or something is like I Am Legend. For some reason he stayed in the city, but like other than that, obviously there's going to be some out there, I'm sure, but I can't think of any right now. Every other movie's like, you know what, we'll move out to the mountains, we'll move out to the farmland, and blah blah blah. So anyways, going back to what I was saying earlier, I don't think it's going to come down to like a Republican or Democratic like viewpoint on a touchy subject. I think it's going to be something completely like random. It's going to be it's not going to be like a one final straw that's just like we're fucking done with it. It's like a toxic relationship. Over time, we're just going to get more and more fed up with their baloney, and then we're going to be like, you know what, I'm done. We're going to hit a breaking point, and then we're going to be like, okay, I'm going to kill someone if something happens again. This is nice, dude. God damn, dude, this thing would stop lifting off the ground. I literally just wheelied like 5 times. I don't think all these movies are completely wrong, though. I think that the only way America is going to fall is because of its citizens destroying us from the inside out. There's no way that we can get attacked from someone else and that would be the end of us. We just have a geographical advantage over everyone. Then you got to think about all the preppers that are out there, and especially right now this is like coming to mind because of the incident down in North Carolina and how poorly handled all of this actually is going so far. I mean, if you've been living under a rock, you would know the hurricane, whatever the H1 was, absolutely slapped North Carolina. They had so many landslides and flooding, and it just looks awful down there. Don't get me wrong, I think it's great that they finally sent in the National Guard, and there's like linemen going down there, cable dudes, there's tons of people going down there and helping out, and it's really great to see communities do that, because I feel like the only time this country ever comes together on like something is during like a natural disaster or, for example, a terrorist event like 9/11. Everyone that I've talked to, and I'm only 24 years old, so I was literally like I literally just turned 1 2 days prior, so obviously I had no idea what the hell was going on. Everyone says that the America that followed after that incident was like the most united that we have ever been as a country, and to me is awesome. I wish that this country was way more united when it came to everything. Our name is literally the United States, and wanna know what we are? The separated states, because we all hate each other. It's stupid. Because in the citizens, we just feel like we're stuck in the crossfire of politics 24/7. I don't even know where I'm going with this anymore, but in the movie Civil War, they never actually told you why we were in a civil war. They just kind of like put you right in the middle of it, and the message I got from it was like, you know, I mean, it seemed pretty like straightforward. The message, like the girl that played in it as like the main character thing, not the young one, the older one that played the OG Spider-Man, she just looked absolutely war-torn from the beginning. She just looked so fed up with what she's been seeing. The PTSD is insane. Like, war is just not a place that anyone else understands until you've actually been in it. And then you have the innocent young girl that comes in. She wants to be a photographer because of all of her quote-unquote heroes being photographers and journalists in war. So she has this image painted in her head just because of the photos that other people have posted, that it's like, you know, it's like interesting, and there's not really anything to like worry about when it comes to it. It's like, just get the photo and leave. She doesn't really think about like the mental stuff that comes along with it. But she quickly finds out later on that, you know, she understood what the older lady was trying to say, but it took her a long time to figure out what she was trying to do, because the older girl was like, you know what, no, I don't want you going here, because like, I know what's in it, and I know what's best in your interest. The thing is, like, the young mind, there's some things that humans just literally can't learn from other people's experiences, and they have to experience it themselves. It's like talking about someone's first heartbreak, and people can be like, oh yeah, that's like nothing. Like, it's just a next level pain that you can't explain, but you also can't experience it through someone else, you know what I mean? Like, the first time you get your heart absolutely fucking ripped out from under you it's just unexplainable. But yeah, so that's what the whole movie was about. It was just kind of like, you know, value the people that you have. Don't, like, war equal bad, basically. When you're in a situation like war, there is no, like, pause. You can't really escape it. You're always on the go, you know what I mean? I'm totally jumping all over the place when it comes to topics here, but going back to the North Carolina incident, and you know, the unitedness of the citizens, you know, there's so many people that are willing to help, and we haven't really seen stuff like that since, like, Katrina, 9/11. I'm sure there's some other stuff, Boston Marathon, a lot of stuff. Like, you don't really see people unite like that until we get, like, a very traumatic experience. And as a community, we finally figure something out. It sucks that like, that's what it takes in order for us to put our political views aside and unite as a country. And I hate to see that. Then you have the people in power that just rip it out from under you. Like, there was a situation in North Carolina. I'm sure some people have already heard about this, but there was a pilot. He had a helicopter, his own private helicopter. Him and his son were going into North Carolina, and they wanted to go and help out and get people resources or get people out that were trapped. And him and his son came across a couple that I believe they were trapped. I have no idea where I'm going. I'm going to assume it's this way. I believe they were trapped, and the way the airspace was not restricted at that time. The airspace had not been restricted whatsoever since the incident in that area that they were in. I don't know if there was other restrictions elsewhere within that airspace, but there were 0 restrictions put by the FAA. Now, wow, that is a nice house and a nice garage. I like that. Was a couple stranded. Him and his son brought the helicopter out to go pick them up and bring them to a safer spot. Now, with this being said, they did. They got to that spot. They picked the way that they planned it out. One person was going to be flying the helicopter. The co-pilot, his son, stayed just because of balance issues, taking off and stuff. So they had to take people out one by one. Now, they picked up the first guy, brought him over to the firefighters that gave him a spot to land, and he was communicating with to begin with anyway, because the guy was prior law enforcement. He had training when it came to, like, communications and stuff like that in emergency situations. So they gave him all the radio frequencies to communicate and everything like that, and go along with it. But once he dropped off that first guy, I guess the fire chief got wing of it, and he just had, like, a power trip, and he said, no, you're interfering with my operation, get the fuck out, and if you go back in there, like, you'll be arrested, blah blah blah. And the guy's like, dude, I'm not leaving my co-pilot behind. Never mind my co-pilot, my son. I'm not leaving my son behind, trapped. Like, no one's gonna do that. Guy was like, I don't know where you got trained, but we don't leave men behind. So then, after being threatened to be arrested if he went back in, the guy, hello, went back, got his son. Thanks, man! Went back, got his son anyway. I don't think he got arrested, which was, you know, obviously the right thing to do, but the fact that that fire chief was prioritizing his operation rather than actually saving people was just like, I don't know, it makes you think about what people's priorities when they're in the government and stuff. It just sucks. It makes you think about you know, our government officials and what they think about and their decision making, because you literally have people stranded, dying, don't have water, don't have food, and they have no way out. They can't even walk out. Some people are trapped because they're in a mountain range flooded. Like, it's just an overall really bad scenario. So then you have all these citizens that have helicopters or planes and they're willing to help, but that fire chief pulled strings and got a flight restriction for that area so that no one could help besides the firefighters and the fire chief's team. The thing is that even the other firefighters that gave him the frequencies to communicate to go and help out and rescue these people, or at least give them food and water to hang on a little bit longer until they actually can get saved, is like, they were like, if you want to go back and grab your co-pilot and that other girl, we will find a spot for you to land, and that fire chief will not be over here. Because they're people too. The fire chief forgets that he's a human for some reason. Don't get me wrong, I understand that there is tough calls that need to be made when it comes to emergency scenarios or war, etc. Like, maybe there's some stuff on the fire chief's mind that he knew that we didn't. Explain that to the dude. You don't have to, like, now you just seem like a dick. And what really pissed me off is they blurred out the fire chief's name when realistically he should be just getting fucking put on blast by other citizens or government officials. To me, that just sounds like you don't care about your community and you don't care if people die. This guy's literally just trying to go and help people out on his own money. It's not like it's coming out of the town funding. Like, I don't understand what the issue was. If it's a liability thing, I don't know. That's up to the pilot. If a pilot gets in another accident, it's not the fire chief's fault. There was no restriction on airspace at the time, so that's on them. And it's frustrating. Oh, I was definitely supposed to go that way. I'm gonna do this then. Oh, God. A lot of selfish people when it comes to emergency scenarios or survival situations, I should say, because not everyone can survive. It is survival of the fittest, and I understand that mindset, but I also understand having a team and sticking with your team. In survival situations, your neighbor might not be your neighbor anymore. They might be your enemy. So you may think you know someone until you're in a scenario like that. And then they deny you food or water, and you're like, brother, I have been your neighbor for 25 years. They don't give a fuck. But I also understand it from their point of view, because if I have kids and some other guy comes up to me, he already looks like he's just not going to survive this in the long term, I'm going to prioritize my kids. Get off my lawn. Get off. You know, the other Civil War movie that kind of came out, I shouldn't even say, well, yeah, I guess it was kind of like a Civil War type of scenario, just America falling. I don't remember the name of the movie. It has Julia Roberts in it. It was on Netflix. The movie was about, I believe it was like North Korea, Russia, and China teaming up to destroy America from the inside out. And it was from the point of view of Americans that were taking a vacation, and then you see, you know, the infrastructure fall. And I think that's how you would really get us to kill ourselves, like I was saying earlier, is if our infrastructure fell. And our infrastructure is really weak right now. If I wanted to go shoot a transformer and take the grid down right now, I probably could. It's pretty sad. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but we are in an energy crisis. But during that movie, they saw, you know, Teslas get hacked and drive into each other. They saw ships, for some reason, grounding ashore. Now, that I think is a little excessive. I think you can turn off and drive a ship manually. Having gone through the maritime school, I'm, like, pretty positive you could just, like, you know, not rely on electronics. But maybe they did. Maybe there's a couple ships out there that would just run aground because someone got hacked. Planes falling out of the sky, also a little bit excessive, but then again, I only fly little Cessna 172s from the 60s, so I don't know how the autopilot features are in the new planes. I don't know if that could be hacked and really do that. Maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. But see, prime example. I could fucking take out that substation right now if I wanted to. What's stopping me? One fence with a little roll of barbed wire on it? Is there other ways to get around that one substation? Absolutely. But if someone conducted an attack on multiple substations, all you need is one person per substation. And I remember when I did my internship at a power plant around here, one of the lead time, they had 2 transformers coming from our main generators to up the voltage to transmission line voltage, and the lead time on building those transformers was like 6 months. Like, if just that is 6 months alone, if people attacked infrastructure, we would be fucked. And once infrastructure falls, that is when our civil war will happen. That's when we see people going into survival mode. That's when we see the people from Idaho putting their guns to use, and they're like, you know what, I've been practicing, there's nothing else to do in Idaho, so I've had night vision goggles, military gear, and I've been prepping, camping. I have all my meal preps. Like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to survive for as long as I need to. And honestly, this whole situation with North Carolina kind of has me thinking the same thing. Don't get me wrong, I have my firearms. Will I ever be outgunned? Absolutely. I would absolutely be outgunned with the amount of restrictions that Massachusetts has on terms of gun stuff. You got people in Idaho, like, just New Hampshire, for example. New Hampshire, they don't have many restrictions. They can get suppressed firearms. They can do whatever the fuck they want when it comes to assault rifles, sniper rifles, anything, basically. Pretty much. I'm sure there's some limitations there, but for the most part, it's like, you know what? Do whatever the fuck you want. Just don't kill someone. In a survival situation, New Hampshire's probably where I'd go. I'm not gonna lie. Probably New Hampshire, right next to the Canadian border, because you know for a fact you're not getting attacked by Canadians. But since New Hampshire is basically landlocked, obviously, best to probably have yourself backed against someone you know is not going to attack you. And if we ever get into a civil war, you know the federal government's going to step in, so I would probably like to be away from the coast. I would much rather live in the mountains. Do I know how to do that? Nope. I have no idea how to survive on my own in the mountains. So part of me wouldn't mind starting prepping. Do I ever want it to happen? No. But would it be a fun hobby? Yes. And would it come into good use if we had an emergency scenario like that? Absolutely. Good thing I'm still recording, because I would be talking to myself and I would absolutely not repeat this conversation. I think prepping would be fun. Going out with the boys in full kit. I mean, no firearm, obviously. Just going camping out in the woods, learning how to deal with, like, radio comms and antennas, and I don't know. Go camping with my mom and she can practice nursing stuff. She'll be the doctor in my group. My stepdad definitely, no shot, he would be good with firearms, but you know what? He could build our shelter. He's a carpenter. He knows what's going on. We're all good thinkers. I think I would have a good team when it comes to survival situation. The real matter is, do they also want to be part of this team? Because I have no idea. I would assume that my mom wants to do, you know, survive. I'm assuming my stepdad would want to survive. Everyone else in my family probably would want to survive, I would assume. So everyone can play a part. It's just a matter of fact of, can we sustain food and water for our team throughout the entire process? Because I'm sure there's going to be so many other people flooding into New Hampshire or anything else. I have no idea. There's a lot that goes on. A lot to think about. The prepping thing has definitely got me thinking now that seeing how they handle the situation in North Carolina, like, we are really on our own if anything happens. Not even in terms of like an attack on something, but even like a natural disaster. If Massachusetts falls because we have some fucking volcanic eruption or a giant sinkhole, yeah, I'm not relying on the government to come save me. I'm getting myself out, and that's gonna be it. And you know, obviously prepping in Massachusetts is going to be way different than, say, prepping in like New Hampshire or Idaho or anything like in the Midwest, because they have all the land in the world. We have a lot of stuff to offer in terms of the coastline, but we do have a lot of people in Massachusetts, so that's what scares me. You know where all the city people are going to go in times of a natural disaster? Probably suburbs or rural areas. But you know what the suburbs are? The crossfire of them both. Suburbs would be the absolute worst place to be, I think, honestly. Because you have people flooding in from the city, but you also have so many neighbors that are so close already. And the neighbors themselves probably have guns. People in the city probably don't have guns, but you have the suburbs. You have so many neighbors that are potentially not your enemy. We would all be screwed. It's like, I would not want to be there. I would rather be in the mountains in the middle of absolutely nowhere. I want zero contact. I want a water source. I want spots to go hunting, and I want to farm. I want to farm my own vegetables now. Do I know how to do it? Nope, but I've played Minecraft before, and I think I'd be good. I also have like 90 farming in RuneScape, so I know what I'm doing. There's a lot that goes on for survival prep. I have a lot of skill sets that may not come in use in survival scenarios like that, but you know what? I can fly a plane. I've been on ships a little bit, not really, but like I know about the shipping industry a little bit. I know about power generation. I know about gas pipelines. There's a lot of stuff that I can do, and I am an engineer, so I'm a thinker. I'm a planner. Alright, back to what I was saying. So, there's a lot of different preparations that you can do, which is interesting. So, you can't do it by yourself if you really wanted to survive. I think you gotta have at least one person with you, realistically. But, it's always good to have a team. Same thing with, I don't know, you're gonna have, like, experience in a lot of different trades. You have to basically make your own little community here. Weapons guy, gotta have, realistically I should say a survival guy. What else is there? Guy that can fix stuff. Gotta have like an engineer. If you're in a survival situation like that, you're probably not gonna get very far with a vehicle, a car, or a truck. So realistically it's gonna be your one tank of fuel that's going to get you to wherever you can go. And then after that, gasoline is going to be scavenged for. So I think the best thing to do, and this is also something that got brought up in another survival prepping video, is that a lot of people can do a lot. Like, you can do a lot on a dual sport dirt bike. It doesn't have to be a big one. It can be a small one. But I've heard about, you know, say the scenario with North Carolina. Like, a lot of people can't drive in there or drive out because of the wooded areas and everything like that. Going up a mountain, but a dirt bike could absolutely do that. So if people were really, really in need, they could send out someone with a dirt bike, get around to go get resources and come back and do that. Some of the Hondas that I've seen, some of the dual sports can be really quiet. Now, I think for the most part that I need to do in prepping is probably just training and food. I think that's probably going to be it for me. So, with that being said, hopefully there is not a civil war anytime soon. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you guys all eventually. Goodbye.